So we're putting zip ties on. But what we actually caught too was, look at that. That's a pinhole. That's a pinhole leak. So imagine the problems that would be causing, and you really don't see it because it was kind of sitting like that. I guess you can see it. Either way though, if that wasn't caught, just imagine that. This is also teed in to the fuel regulator. So not only are you going to have inconsistent fuel pressure, you're also going to be possibly chasing down an idle issue on top of, you know, that these injectors, we don't know really how they flow. So that's the other thing too, when you mix in less expensive parts or cheaper parts, you know, when you do have small little issues, you just don't know. You know, is it the injectors? I don't know. Is it the something else? I don't know. It's hard to say. So and then that comes down to time too. You know, chasing little stuff like that can be very time consuming. Side note, we got the filter off, and there's the chrome piece. That piece will actually, because it's super glued on usually, that will come off, end up in your turbo. Not good. Oh, and I did find something else too, which I don't know if I can get the video. I forgot to actually document that, but his intercooler is zip tied down there. But look how it's zip tied. Just crushing the fins. That's not good either. So as I said earlier in the video, you can literally just see blow-off valve is leaking. Nothing really easy to do on that. We'll let the customer know he's going to have to replace it down the road, unless he wants to hold off on the tune. It's going to be up to him ultimately. We're going to, our spray bottle actually had a little malfunction. It stopped wanting to spray, so we're going to be back. We got the leak down tester hooked up. We got a very, very old school, you can see the welds. This is super old boost leak tester that we made, probably close to 15 years ago. You don't have to be fancy with this. You can make one of these out of PVC pipe from Home Depot or Menards. There's a good write-ups online, so don't got to be fancy with that. We have it hooked up to our leak down tester so we can adjust it. Of course, we're not concerned about the actual leakage because we're not doing a motor. And we're going to be back with a spray bottle and we're going to spray some stuff up. So the funny thing is, as we're spraying that, and you can see the bubble, as we're spraying that, this actually starts to leak worse. I don't know if we can show that on video here. But it almost seems like the more we spray here, which ultimately is probably wanting to, the soapy water and whatnot, it's probably wanting to almost seal. So we got that. The thing too, I mean, you can kind of see these clamps they're just very inexpensive or cheap. So, and you can actually see how it wants to move. It's actually going to come right off. Like I can literally take that off. So we're going to get a new clamp on there. And we're going to keep going. We're going to make sure all the other vacuums that we zip tied are good. And it's soapy water. It's not a huge deal. It's not going to hurt anything. You know, I don't recommend spraying it on like your spark plugs or your distributor cap. Don't forget to spray around your injectors too, because that could be a vacuum slash boost leak. And I can't get onto the other side, but we're going to keep going, see what we can find, and see what we can ultimately fix. So the customer gave me the go-ahead. I told him pretty much the consequences with having a exhaust leak before the O2 sensor. Also told him the consequences about having that boost leak. He said pretty much do my best. So I'm adding his gas right now to it. I will say, if you do bring me gas, please bring it all the way filled up, so I don't have to run out and grab gas. Thank you. what you saw in that video was the valve cover smoking. What you're seeing is basically blow-by. When a motor is built very, very loose, you're going to see stuff like that. When you build a motor, you always got to anticipate how much power you're going to make, and you have to build it for the most amount of power that you want to make. So if you're going to make 500 horsepower, it should be built to handle 500 horsepower, because as you increase power, you increase heat, and parts inside the block want to expand. Right now, though, what you're seeing is a little bit too much blow-by, because we're not making that much power. You know, if you go watch a video of a Civic making 800, 900, 1,000 horsepower, whatever. Normally they have the catch can right here, and you're going to see that smoking a little bit. The issue with being built too loose, as I was mentioning earlier, you have in the combustion chamber all the pressure and the boost pressure going in, and then it's escaping through the rings and then sitting inside the crankcase where the crank is sitting. So you're forcing pressure on the bottom of the piston and on the top, which is a recipe to crack piston ringland. As we're turning up the boost now, because I did ask him if he wanted me to keep going, knowing that we possibly could hurt the motor, he said yes. Even though we did a boost leak test and this one wasn't leaking, you can kind of see now how, not only, I would say, cheaper clamps, but having stuff mounted solidly, this thing is not mounted that good. So you got this moving, and if you watch that video of the dyno pull, you'll see how much that engine moves. So, you got this wanting to move, this wanting to move because of the engine. So not good. We're going to put that back on, and we're going to see if we can get another power pull going. So we made more power. The issue is, not only is the smoking getting worse, and in that video you can see it almost feels like the car has like a slight miss at idle now. The air fuel's very, very inconsistent, and what you have to remember going back in this video was the injectors. When you run a no-name, or whatever you want to call them, injector, uncapped, as the car heats up, and there's a very good video on Facebook that shows how heat affects an injector. And a lot of people forget, or if you've never stuck your hand in a hot gas tank, and I've said it before, or a gas tank while the car has been warmed up and driving, fuel gets hot. So we're seeing a very inconsistent reading on the dyno, especially as the car heats up, wants to make more power. That's one of those things where if I dial the tune in and everything is perfect with the air fuels, and then 10 minutes later of heat soak, the air fuels are all over the place. Let's say it's running too rich, and I take fuel out. Well, then when the temps cool down, it's going to be way too lean, and vice versa. If I'm adding more fuel, then it's going to be way too rich later on. And you're seeing it firsthand. I don't know if it's the injectors. We're facing a slight breakup right around when VTEC wants to kick in, a little bit beforehand, and then up on top we're seeing a slight breakup. Now, for the power that we're making and how much boost we're making, I did gap the spark plugs just to see if it would, fix the breakup, and it doesn't. So that's the other thing now that we're facing is a breakup problem. And at this point, seeing how the motor's starting to smoke more and more, and now where it doesn't like to idle even, I'm going to pretty much say this one's a wrap. What I want you guys to take out of this video, not only to learn everything that I've been trying to tell you guys, but also take out that when you have any issues and you're dealing with other issues, it piles and just complicates it even more. So that's a wrap, guys. We hit his goal. That's a plus, but he's gonna have to take a look at the issues and the problems and address them. And definitely could, if the car was fine, we weren't fighting the smoking issue. And I don't, even though I told him that, hey, we could possibly hurt the motor, he still wanted me to keep going. I don't want to see this thing end up in pieces. So I'm pretty much going to put a stopping point at it. It does want to make power, but we're running into the issue, guys. So, issues, I should say.
If you guys got questions, of course, comment down below. I'll do my best to reply. You can always shoot us an email, rcautoworks@gmail.com, or you can shoot us a phone call, 708-599-5884, during business hours, of course. That's about it, guys. Enjoy the rest of your time, day, whatever. Thanks for watching.